It's 7 o'clock, time for our regularly scheduled council meeting. Mike?
Collier Wise.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Holland. Here. Humphrey.
Here.
Mines.
Here.
Price.
Here.
Sorensen.
Here.
Ward. Here. Mayor Powell. Here.
Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is minutes from last meeting. We have minutes from the special meeting on December 5th and regular meeting on December 5th.
Move approval. Second.
Motion is second to approve both sets of minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Adoption of the agenda. We have one revision on the agenda. Let's see, where was that? Oh, it's 5A, right? I'd like to add 5A, pinning ceremony. And so,
Move approval of the agenda as amended.
a motion is second to approve the motion as amended, or agenda as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Under visitors to be heard, addressing the council, persons addressing the council shall use the microphone at the podium. Please raise your hand to be recognized, go to the podium, and state your name and address. For items that are not on the agenda, members of the public may speak under visitors to be heard on any topic not on the agenda. Remarks are limited to 5 minutes, and no decision will be made at this time. For regular agenda items, public testimony will be taken at the beginning of each agenda item after the subject has been announced by the mayor and explained by staff. Any citizen who wishes may speak one time for 5 minutes on each agenda item. Public testimony will then be closed and the topic will be given to the governing body for possible action. At this point, only council members and staff may discuss the current agenda item unless a council member moves to allow another person to speak and there's unanimous consent from the council. Questions from council members, however, may be directed to staff or a member of the public through the presiding officer at any time. At this time, we do have a special item, and that is pinning program. And Keith, would you take that, please?
Thank you. Thanks for accommodating us. We're here tonight to recognize the following individuals for completing their probation with the Vermillion Fire EMS Department and to welcome them to the family by performing their badge pinning ceremony. The fire EMS service is one of the world's most honored but dangerous occupations. When there is an emergency in the community, our firefighters and EMTs leave their places of work, homes, and families to serve. Our firefighters and EMTs are one of the first on scene. Firefighters and EMTs are there at devastating ravages of fire, motor vehicle accidents, natural disasters, rescue operations, medical emergencies, and other critical incidents. Deputy Chief Raymond Downey of the New York Fire Department said it best. Every firefighter and EMT performs an act of bravery once in his or her career. That is when they take the oath of service. After that, everything is in the line of duty. It is a great honor to have the opportunity to accept these recruits into the Vermillion Fire EMS Department family. So I'll start introducing the individuals. And so the following individuals have completed their probation and are assigned to Station 1. Mike Murrah. Jeff Brown. Deshaun Alexander. Armando Bashara. Brash. Sorry. Brash. Sorry about that. John Lentz. Don Thompson, and Danny Ports. The following individuals have also completed their probation and will be assigned to Station 2. Matt Wilms, Hunter Jackson, Dustin Sockness, and Noah Walker. Members, please turn around to have your badges pinned.
Dave, do you want them closer for a picture?
I think we'll go outside for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
We still got one trying to pin. And that concludes our badge pinning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ladies
Appreciate
and
it.
gentlemen, for your service to our community and our area. I really appreciate that. I think we should give them a round of applause. Is there anyone in the audience that has a topic they'd like to talk about that isn't on our agenda for the evening? Yeah, I'd say by attrition there won't be. Seeing none in the audience, is there anyone on the council that has anything they wish to bring up at this point that's not on the agenda? Okay. We have no public hearings this evening, so we'll turn to old business. And item A is a second reading of the 2016 Supplemental Appropriation Ordinance 1350. And Mike, please.
This is second reading of the ordinance. There's been no changes since first reading that was held at last meeting. We're making adjustments to the general fund for the library foundation, providing some funding for some computer equipment, repairs to a street department truck, swimming pool wages and chemicals being reallocated to the new pool project for fixtures and equipment, second penny sales tax for some firefighters' equipment, a transfer to the City Hall debt service, the Special Revenue Fund, E911, increase and decrease in line items that net out, the City Hall debt service for increase in the fiscal fees, the Prentice Park capital projects for the transfer in from the pool money for the miscellaneous improvements that the Parks and Rec Director explained, an equipment replacement fund picking up the county contribution for the new ambulance and purchasing that ambulance. Administration recommend adoption as second reading of the ordinance 1350 supplemental appropriation ordinance, and a roll call vote is called for that.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions from the council? Motion is second to approve the second reading of ordinance 1350, 2016 supplemental appropriations. And Don, if you'd set the machinery for us to vote, please. As you can see, it is 9 yes and 0 no, so the motion has been approved. Thank you. Moving on to new business, item A is a resolution requesting the District 17 delegation support legislation to change state law statute to have the malt beverage markup apply to all licensees who sell malt beverages. John, please.
Excuse me, thank you. Just a kind of a recap, I think the community is fairly well aware of this, but in early 2015, the City Council adopted a malt beverage markup, Ordinance 1325. An initiated measure brought that to the voters in a special election that was held on June 30th of 2015, and the voters upheld implementation of the ordinance 63% to 37%, and the ordinance took effect on July 1st. Since that time, we've had a number of establishments that have dropped their malt beverage license. In essence, what the way our state statute reads is that if they have a liquor license, they can sell beer through their liquor license with just two restrictions. They can't sell beer on Christmas Day, and they can't sell beer to go. So if they sell it under their liquor license, they have those two restrictions, but they then are able to not pay the malt beverage markup. The state statute currently exempts liquor licenses from having to pay the malt beverage markup unless they also have a malt beverage license, which a number of these establishments did up until this ordinance came into effect. And just a reminder that the way the ordinance was written here in Vermillion and the way the council adopted it and voters upheld it was that all the money was to go to our park system. Why is this a little bit of an issue here in Vermillion is somewhat unique. In Vermillion and about 2 or 3 other cities in the state, we allow, or the way the system is set up, the establishments hold the license. In the other communities in the state that have this, the city actually holds the license and they have operating agreements with the respective establishments. So the city has their license and they enter in an operating agreement where they apply the malt beverage markup through the operating agreement that way. So that's why we're one of only 2 or 3 of the cities in the state that have a malt beverage markup where this situation exists. To our knowledge and our record that we've been able to put together, there are 63 communities in the state of South Dakota that have a malt beverage markup. We've only been able to identify 3 that have a similar situation such as Vermillion has. That is, again, the license holders hold the license. They have liquor-only licenses, which allows them to escape paying the malt beverage markup. This is something that fairness has been a big part of this whole discussion in terms of who pays the markup way back when the discussion was going on. The council heard it at your public hearing on the malt beverage markup review in the summer of 2015. One of our grocery stores came forward and raised questions with regard to the fairness aspect of it. And so this does go back to that fairness to establish that all the malt beverages sold in the city of Vermillion would, if this was adopted, have to pay the malt beverage markup. We do, just as a point of record, this is a question we often get. It's written into our liquor store agreement that the malt beverage markup will be paid by the operator of that, and we also do collect at the Bluffs Golf Course. I guess the thing that this question has been kind of circulating for a while, back when we had the candidate forum in the fall, all of the District 17 candidates and at that hearing that night said that they would support bringing forward a measure like this for consideration by the full legislature. So what this attached resolution does is it encourages our District 17 legislators to support a change in the malt beverage state statutes, so that would apply to all licensees selling malt beverages in a community that has adopted a malt beverage markup. It does not change the amount. That's already been approved by the council and the voters. It does not change anything with respect to where the money goes. It just recommends that they change state statutes so to establish a fair playing field here in the community and other communities that are similarly situated.
Thank you, John. Comments or questions for our city manager? Tom?
So, this may sound obvious, but this is a public hearing, and people are afforded an opportunity to comment.
Sure.
And there was notice given that this would be on our agenda. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments? Go ahead.
Like I said, I understand what it's all for. And I know we went through this in the, of course, we went through this process, but my ward really didn't want it then, and I don't think they want it now, so I'm going to vote no on it.
That's fine. You should, at least I would like it to be known that this is not a tax on proprietors. it's a pass-through to the customer. And it's an issue where any of the proprietors that sell the beer should be treated fairly so that one doesn't have an advantage over another. Right?
So if the malt beverage license is covered under the liquor license, do the establishments have to purchase a malt liquor license, or is that money that they can just save? Do you understand?
Go ahead.
I think the question, if I understand what you're asking correctly, is in the past, most of these establishments purchased both a liquor license and a malt beverage license. That gave them the opportunity, as I mentioned, to sell beer to go and to be open Christmas Day and sell beer under the malt beverage license. So if I'm understanding your question correctly, they did have both of those licenses. Some of them, to be able to not pay the malt beverage markup, have dropped their malt beverage license and sell beer under their liquor license, which is perfectly legal to do, but they do have two restrictions. They can't sell on Christmas Day and they can't sell to go. So yes, we have seen the number of licenses decrease because instead of buying two licenses, they have just bought the one.
I think the question is, under this, would they have to then buy another one?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, that would be an operator's choice. If they didn't want to buy the malt beverage license, that would not require them to do so. But if this language were interpreted, they would have to pay the malt beverage markup. But it would be their choice which licenses they wanted to buy.
Tom?
I wonder if you, I hate to speculate, but speculate on the success of this actually passing the legislature.
I have no clue.
We don't have any
We just know our
comments
legislators
from anyone or
from
anything.
our district support.
Just wondered.
And I think, Rich, don't put you on the spot, but I think that we're also bringing it to the municipal league and asking for their support as well. Any further discussion? Steve, please.
Well, to me, this resolution is simply kind of reiterating what the voters of Vermillion had voted for in the spirit of that, and then asking the state legislature to kind of verify our understanding of what the markup was originally. And so I'm going to vote for it, and I support the markup originally. We're not forcing the state legislature to do anything. We're just asking them to basically support the position of the Vermillion citizens on this particular issue.
Okay, further? Else?
I just wanted to also point out that because of the way that our state laws work, we're limited in the number of liquor licenses that we have in this community, and when people tend to get them, they tend to keep them because they are valuable, and that gives those folks, those limited number of folks, a real advantage over other people who not only don't have liquor licenses but have no way to obtain them. And so it's kind of creating a dual class system for the people that already had liquor licenses and the people that really have no hope of obtaining them. And so I would hope that our legislatures and others would support this to give everyone, all the business people, a fair shake.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right.
I guess going into this, I was really on the fence, and it's kind of a win-win, lose-lose situation, because I can see where both sides are at, both the city and the voters. But I think the thing that really gets to me, I guess, is that this money, that this markup goes for like parks, and not necessarily the Prince Pool, which is nice, but just parks in general for kids to play, for kids to go to. You know, this is like I said, it's really a win-win, lose-lose situation. So if it wasn't for the parks, I would probably say no, but I mean, I guess it's just this is, I don't know, it's just, it's hard, it's difficult, but because it's going for the parks, I probably will say yes, even though the people in my district didn't want it, but without the parks, the kids aren't really don't have a nice place to play. So I'm happy, but yet I'm sad, so.
I would comment it's not a lose-lose, because it's a pass-on. Further comments? We don't have a motion yet, do we?
Move approval.
Motion and a second to approve a resolution encouraging District 17 legislators to support a change in the malt beverage state statute. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no? No. Motion carries. Thank you. Item B, resolution fixing the time and place for a hearing and notice of hearing on the special assessment roll for sidewalk repairs in the southwest quadrant. Jose, please.
Thank you. On December 16, 2013, the City Council approved a resolution adopting the resolution of necessity for sidewalks for the southwest quadrant of the city. Work on this project has been completed and the final payment has been authorized and issued. The special assessment were calculated and filed with the finance officer on December 7, 2016. Per state statute, the city is required to hold a public hearing to allow the affected property owners to review and discuss the costs associated with the project. The property owners to be assessed will be notified of the hearing by mail, and the public hearing notice will also be published in the Plain Talk. Construction cost was $8,126.68, of which $5,970.76 is to be assessed. Administration recommends approving the resolution to set a hearing date of January 16, 2017 for the special assessments for the sidewalk repairs.
Thank you, Jose. Council? Thank you. Motion and second to approve the resolution fixing the time and place for hearing and notice of hearing on the special assessment roll for sidewalk repairs in the southwest. Is that right? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item C, resolution of necessity and notice of hearing for sidewalk repairs in the southeast quadrant. Again, Jose, please.
Thank you. The new sidewalk inspection program that was adopted by the city in 2010 required that the quadrants, the city was essentially to be divided into quadrants. The southwest or southeast section of the city, so essentially anything south of Main Street and east of Dakota Street, was inspected this year. During the inspections, staff looked at for a couple of items, mainly trippers and surface conditions. Those that were found to be deficient in those areas were marked. The special assessment process requires that the governing body set a public hearing date and notify the property owners of the hearing by both sending notices and publishing the notice of the hearing. The notice calls for the public hearing to be held on January 16, 2017. The costs at this point, the only cost associated with this would be the postage and the publication of the notice. The city will need to budget for repair of sidewalks throughout the community which did not pass inspection. Administration recommends adoption of the resolution setting the public hearing date for January 16, 2017.
Thanks, Jose. Council? Motion and second to approve resolution of necessity and notice of hearing for site. Okay. I'll just a second. I'll get to it. For sidewalk repairs in the southeast quadrant. Any further discussion? Tom?
Thank you. Thank you. I heard the second, so I thought...
Well, I thought we had to get it approved.
Could you just clarify for me, sir, the alley South Pine, is that from Main to Maple, or is that a portion of it? That line is... So, well, the other alleys, too. Is it just repairs in existing paved alleys?
It's just going to be the repair on the sidewalk portion. So you have the approach, then the sidewalk and the alley itself. We're just talking about the 20-foot section that would be the sidewalk.
Thanks for the clarification. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Carries. Thanks, Jose. Item D. Gave me one of these again. Final plat of lots 5, 6, 7, 8A, 9A, 10A, and 14A, Block 1, Bliss Point addition to the City of Vermillion in the south half of Section 14, TNT T92N R52W of the 5th Prime Meridian, Clay County, South Dakota. Jose?
Thanks. I'll try and make it longer next time. Banner Associates provided this plat, I guess, on behalf of the VCDC and several of the owners. The plat is essentially would be replatting or would be platting roughly 4.37 acres. In area, oops, I left my pen up there. But essentially, the plat would be divided into two different lots. You would have these 3 lots up here that would be the new lots. These 3 lots here would be platted new, and then these 3 lots over here and this one here would be replatted. Essentially, the plat is pretty benign, I guess, as far as plats are concerned. The essence of the plat, for lack of a better term, would be to give additional backyard to the lots in question. Right now, through the plat of the block that was originally adopted a couple years ago, the lots actually ended in this dotted line back here. Well, the VCDC and some of the neighbors agreed to acquire some additional land, so then the lots would be lengthened or increase in area by different amounts depending on the lot. All of the staff did review the plat and found that all of the ordinance requirements are met. The Planning Commission also reviewed this plat at their November 14th meeting and approved recommended approval unanimously. All associated platting fees have been paid by the applicant. With all that being said, administration finds the plat meets all of the ordinance requirements and recommends adoption or approval.
Thanks, Jose. Comments from the council? Questions for Jose? Steve, please.
Do you recall why the original plats had less land in the backyard?
Yeah, if we can go to that again. It's pretty easy. At the very beginning, before there was a bliss point, the bluff line was essentially that dotted line. So when the blocks were platted, that's what was assumed to be the end of the property, the bluff line. Well, the block 6 and all of the blocks adjoining the bluff were platted with that line in question. Now that everything was done and completed, well, the rear lot lines were lower, the elevation was lower, so then it gives them a little bit more backyard, and that's why the bluff line essentially moved a little bit further. So it's all flat ground. We're just giving them to the property owners, or the VCDCS.
I move approval.
A motion and a second to approve the final plats. Any further discussion? Seeing none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thanks, Jose.
Thanks.
Item E, consideration of amounts paid for services performed for the benefit of the city. And John, please.
Thank you. At the last city council meeting, you had the fee schedule, which are some fees or a number of fees that the city charges for different services that we provide. Periodically, we also look at those fees that we pay for people that complete work on our behalf. In this case, we reviewed some of our electric department fees, those that we pay electricians that work in partnership with our light and power department to help accomplish certain things for the city. And as we looked at it, we realized that we hadn't adjusted the load control installer fee since at least 1985. And we, Derek, our intern, and Monty, kind of Monkfold, they talked to some other area departments and took a look at what our fee was and what they were charging the other departments. And the recommendation is to raise that $25 fee to $50 a fee for those electricians who work with the city to install load control devices with this, around the community. It's something they perform on our behalf. And then for background, we also provided some information on the other 2 fees that the city does pay electricians, what they pay for the overhead service to underground, and then transporting a meter of a building or home from indoors to outdoors. Some of those fees are just provided as background. There's no changes proposed in those at this time. The recommendation, though, is to increase the amount that we pay electricians to install load control devices beginning January 1st. With the new rate would be $50.
Thank you, John. Comments or questions for John? Motion is second to approve the adjustment to city compensation for load controller installment. Further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item F, Public Service Center Board appointment. And Mike?
The Public Safety Center was built, at which time there was a, let me start over. When the Public Safety Center was built, it was a joint facility with the county and the city. At that time, there was a construction and use agreement entered into between the city and county. The agreement provided for a Public Safety Center board that was set to resolve any issues that could not be taken care of between the city police chief and the county sheriff. The board calls for 3 people to be appointed to the board, with terms being 1 year or 3-year terms, and so we have 1 term coming up each year. Current members on the board are Bob Fuller, Bruce Plate, and Dave Teasy. Bob Fuller's term would end here in 2016, and he has agreed to serve another 3-year term, and so the recommendation is to reappoint Bob Fuller to the Public Safety Center Board, his term expiring in December of 2019. And just as a side note, as far as we know, this board has never met. The county and city have resolved any issues and never had to have this board, but having the board in place when it's needed is something both entities strive to have done.
And a board you'd like to be on? Any questions of Mike?
I move approval.
Motion and second to approve the Public Safety Center Board appointment of Bob Fuller to continue for another 3 years. Do they get paid if they don't meet? Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Carries. Thank you. Item G, commercial collector licenses. And again, Mike, please.
City ordinance requires the approval of the City Council for the issuance of commercial collectors licenses. We have 5 firms that have made application to renew their commercial collector's license. We have Lauren Fisher Disposal, Lauren Fisher owner, Fisher's Disposal LLC, Lonnie Fisher is the owner, Arts Garbage Service, which is a division of Waste Connection, Vermillion Garbage Service, Marty Johnson owner, and Independence Waste, K&P Services. The police chief has issued his report on the license renewals, and included in there, there was warnings issued to 2 of the license holders. They've included the first being for driving on the wrong side or backing on the wrong side, and the license holder indicated they changed their route so they'll be no longer driving on the wrong side. Another one was warned for driving in the wrong lane and not having the proper endorsement for his vehicle license, and on his renewal he stated that he doesn't drive on the wrong side of the street anymore, and that he has his air brake endorsement on his CDL license. The police chief's review only covers violations of city ordinances and state statutes within the city limits. The annual licensing fee is $300, and administration recommends approval of the license unless additional information is brought up.
Thank you, Mike. Council? Motion and second to approve commercial collectors license renewal. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Mike. Next, we have bid opening and power transformer for new Northeast electrical substation. And Jose, please.
Thank you. The city's consultants in the process of designing the Northeast electrical substation. The construction is to start in 2017. To expedite the process, the city ordered the transformer for the substation. The bids for the transformer were open on December 14th. The city received 3 bids. The bids range from $520,070 and $576,894. The low bid also included an option for testing and programming, which increased the cost by $10,300. Even with additional cost, the low bid of $530,370 was less than the estimate of $650,000. The Vermillion Light and Power Department has funds budgeted to cover these expenses already in the budget. The recommendation of administration and DGR, which is a city consultant, is to award the bid for the power transformer to Delta Star Inc. at a cost of $530,370, which includes the additional cost for the option.
Does that include delivery?
Yeah.
Questions for Jose? Motion and a second to approve the low bid for the power transformer northeast substation. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. City Manager's report, John, please.
Thank you. Just a reminder, the recycling center will be closed this Saturday, December 24th. City offices will be closed on Monday the 26th and also Monday, January 2nd. The next City Council meeting will be on Tuesday, January 3rd, 2017, due to the offices being closed on Monday the 2nd of January. Just also a reminder that the sidewalks are to be cleared 24 hours after the end of a snow event, and also snow should be stored on your property, not across the street on a neighbor's yard without their permission, or piled up in the street in front of a neighbor's property. And we do ask that if you move the snow across the street to please avoid creating windrows in the street if it is moved across to a permitted property. And Christmas tree collection site, that is open, and we do accept real Christmas trees there. The site is located in the same place as previous years. That is on the south side of Broadway Street, just west of Dakota Street. We do ask that you remove any plastic you might use to wrap the tree in for transporting, as well as lights and decorations. And trees will be accepted until January 13th of 2017. And then just a reminder for Policies and Procedures Committee members, you do have a meeting tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. downstairs in the conference room.
Thank you, John. Any comments or questions for our City Manager? Seeing none, we'll turn to invoices payable. And Mike, would you just explain for me, maybe the others, item 46, please? Why that comes at us in December?
Our work comp insurance is due January 1st of 2017, and so I just want to get approval of that here with this meeting. We will have a meeting on the 3rd, but this way we can get it processed on that Tuesday to get it mailed, since it's due then, and we've always had it coming out of the budget year for 17, or for the following year, and so this allows us to get it out.
So it's already in the 16 budget?
Well, it's already in the 17.
17 budget. Any others that anyone has a question about from Mike?
Move to pay our bills.
Second.
Motion to second to pay our bills. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. There is no consensus agenda. Steve? Motion to second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to all of you. We'll see you on Tuesday the 3rd. Okay?